All right. Hello and welcome back to the Nexus Gaming Series. I am Bahamut, one of your hosts. With me, joined once again, Cat Peach. How you doing? How is your day?
My day's going great. Started out really early for mid-season brawl for me over here. 5 in the morning, actually.
Oh, it's too early.
It's a little bit too early, but you know, continuing the good trend of Heroes of the Storm here now for this playoff game. Really excited. This is the first time I've gotten to cast gillyShark this season, and after meeting them at dorm, it's quite the honor to be able to do so. So. It
was such a blast to meet them at dorm as well. Like they came up to me, they were like, "We're gillyShark," and I looked at them, and they're all wearing suspenders and everything, and have like matching outfits, and I'm like, I'm so happy about like it's just so perfect.
So good. It was so good. It was adorable.
Now,
and the pictures too that they got with Gilly are just the cutest things. So all around good times.
They are they're the best. But let's go ahead. We're gonna get into this really quickly. Just to note, the map choices was chosen by Reepsville Gazette. First pick was chosen by gillyShark. Tomb of Spider Queen was banned out, as well as Volskaya Foundry. Braxis Holdout was then chosen by Reepsville Gazette for this matchup. And we have the Genji banned out, the Joanna banned out. And before we get into this ban phase, we've already got a fairly good setup with the Sonya Stukov Medivh on the side of gillyShark. And then going into that on the other side, they have the Garrosh Gul'dan. I think that Medivh's really going to help them deal with that Garrosh, trying to like get into that backline as well as displacement, or even helping to save a team member who gets thrown too far away.
Yeah, exactly. And also the follow-up with Stukov there as well. If you know that your team member is going to end up getting flipped, at least trying to diffuse the situation a little bit with that lurking arm to say, sure, you flip them, but you can't really do anything about it. It gives them a little bit of time to hopefully move out of there. It gives Medivh time to lay down, protect, to help as well. So really solid pickup so far on the side of gillyShark. I'm really enjoying it. The Gul'dan, I'm also quite curious to see how that plays with that Garrosh. I feel like this is one of the few maps that we see Gul'dan come up pretty consistently on. This in Volskaya. So, so far, pretty solid foundations on both sides, I would say.
And then they're going to be able to take out the Phoenix on the side of the Reepsville Gazette. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I mean, it does offer a little bit into their wave clear. It's very strong for their 4-member, as well as the fact that, I mean, you get that 4th auto attack that can absolutely just the amount of crit damage that it can do to a team is just paralyzing, it seems. But then we're gonna have the Thrall band out on the side of gillyShark. They're not gonna want to deal with that in the potential solo lane, and even in the 4-man. I actually really do like that band because there's so much that Garrosh and Gul'dan really can play off of with, for example, an Earthquake or even a Sunder.
Yeah, or even beyond that, just the Feral Wolf rooting on top of flipping back is one of the most frustrating things to deal with, but one of the most satisfying things to land if that's on your team. And so that's a pretty deadly combination. And as you said, the Earthquake just allowing for more time for your team to capitalize on folks being within your vicinity. We're going to see Deckard come out.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
Gramps coming around to help his kids. I like it. spending weekends, you know, with the family. I enjoy it.
I really like it too because there's Deckard Cain, and I've said it so many times before. Deckard Cain has such a versatility with his choice and talents, as well as the way his playstyle works, and 10 as well. I mean, Lord NATO is great on a map like this for point control, as well as the AoE sleep, the stay a while and listen, is just a great setup for example, Malthael to really get in there, as well as Gul'dan just to dump damage. Now, granted, they will be woken up right away, but if they have full corruption stack standing on them, that might be too much damage to even walk away from.
The Malthael is interesting to me because there is nothing so far on the side of gillyShark that came out that made me say, yes, the Malthael's the obvious pickup. You make some really good points there, but yeah, I don't know.
Into the solo lane, I can see it because they have that Sonya, so they're going to be guaranteed that second tank. So I can see the reason for it. Also, I've been told and I've seen a lot of people say post 10 Malthael into Sonya, you get Sonya below 50% health. Last rights most of the time will be getting that kill, but the hunt is on, and we're also going to be having a Murden as well. Like, ooh,
yeah, and even with the change to Nature's Culling at 4 for Lunara, she still packs a punch. I've actually been trying to pick her up a bit more myself, and it's kind of crazy how even with your level 7 talents, once you get those, how much damage you can actually deal. And so Deckard, potions could be scattered, but you can only ever heal one person with a potion at a time. And so Reepsville is going to have to be very cognizant of where those potions are and who's picking them up and when and how necessary they are.
That's a good point too. I honestly haven't seen enough Deckard into Lunara I'm worried about this, but they're gonna
double percentage damage. All right.
Yeah, they pick up the Tychus as well. I mean, the Commandeer Odin is considered a phenomenal sieging and anti-sieging tool, and even then, we don't see it very often, but the Draken Laser Drill, I think that still is a great zoning tool, especially on a map like this. We'll see how it's utilized as we get into this game, but I don't know who I honestly give this over to. I think both teams have such a good setup for this game that I'm just honestly, I don't know who kind of wins it out. There's a lot. There's too many like factors for me to really be like, this is a clear winner to me.
Right. I think a lot of it is going to depend on how well Tychus and Malthael can get in and do that damage. But if gillyShark is coming in and focusing on either of them and forcing them back immediately, I don't think that, you know, the double percentage base is really scary into a double warrior composition. But if you use those tools correctly to force them away sooner, it's less you have to deal with. You do still have that protect from Medivh to buy a little bit more time if it does become an issue. And I think overall, the tool set on the side of gillyShark, I'm personally a big fan of. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, we're going to find out here in just a second as we get into game number 1 between these two teams. This is going to be gillyShark on the left-hand side with JinxieCat going to be on that Murd and Darkstorm going to be on the Lunaro. Chimotripsyn going to be on the Stukov. We'll have Mr. Lard on the Sonya and Stark going to be on that Medivh.
And on the red side, we do have the Reepsville Gazette. We have Aachen on Gul'dan, Calcium on Garrosh, Boiled Frogs will be on Deckard Cain, Nikki Santoro on Malthael, and Jake the Snake on the Tychus.
Well, let's go ahead and let's get into this.
Hello, Jinxie.
just like, hey, Twitch chat, what's up? But
what's going on, Twitch?
we are going to be having this start out here, and we have the one thing that I was curious is what Deckard is going to be going into at level 1, and there's so many options at level 1 for him to going into, but it will be that increased slow with the Sapphire on the Haragic Cube, so I really, really like that. A lot of setup, furthermore into allowing Caltm to go ahead and get the tosses they're going to be looking for, as well as Aachen going ahead and being able to drop some more damage down on that Gul'dan.
Yeah, and I also really like Lunara picking up, for her level 1, the talent that reveals enemies, just to be able to keep a bit more track of them. On a pale horse coming out from Malthael, pretty standard there to help with those rotations. So we're gonna have to see how those play out in the long run. Both teams right now just kind of scuffling here on bottom, while Malthael and Sonya hang out in the top lane, try to play a little bit of chicken of who's gonna overextend first. Yeah,
and at this point, peeking into the top lane, we do actually have that matchup, and Mr. Lard getting pushed in a little bit by Nikki over here, and this might be a little worrisome, but we'll have to see how this kind of plays out, as we do have the first phase popping out here, and JinxieCat taking a lot of damage, gonna need to back off and let that third win proc.
You know what I just realized that I really like on the side of Reepsville is that even if Malthael needs to relinquish that lane, I feel like, you know, they have the ability to swap out who's focusing that. You can either send Tychus up there, or you can have Malthael, and so they have options for trades, depending on who would capitalize more on these team fights for the beacons themselves. So very interesting decision that I would definitely have to keep on for as the match kind of progresses.
We do actually have Stark getting tossed in here and taking a bit of damage. The portal will be going out in time just to make sure they don't lose their Medivh here. Also, just really quickly, they are about halfway through their stacks for the Arcane Rift, so definitely do not want to be losing those this early in the game, especially with JinxieCat getting so low here. Going to use that Dwarf Toss to get right out, and it looks like the bottom will be held over by Reepsville Gazette, and top lane is going to be held by Mr. Lard, going to be on that point as the Sonya.
We already have 50% of beacon control going over to Reepsville Gazette, which puts them in a really good position to maybe back off a little bit more, soak these lanes that they happen to be around. Wisp is going out to give a little bit more vision for gillyShark. Darkstorm trying to see if he can leap his way over there and maybe claim that beacon. Still a fairly even trade, but I assume Sonya will have to back off at some point in that top lane. Jinxie Cat, again, getting incredibly low, able to Dwarf House right out of there, but Reepsville does not want to give up that bottom beacon.
Not at all, and Kaimo chips him with that clutch heal on the Stukov there to make sure that they don't lose their tank and they don't have to give this back over. Now with the fully healed members, they're going to go ahead and aggress once again onto this. The charge is in favor for Reepsville Gazette as they are moving onto this. They're starting to fight. Cal TM taking a lot of damage. Indomitable going to be used. Portal's going to be going out back and forth. They're not going to be chasing this too far. I like this play from gillyShark. They're going to go ahead. They're going to get the point. They're going to force them off, and they won't get the kills, and that won't kind of stagger this lane out. But at the same time, it allows them just to kind of have that control. They've got the vision. They can kind of anchor themselves around that point in bottom.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how much gillyShark maybe wants to focus on that top lane. I don't know how much of a percentage they're going to get on these beacons. Reepsville is already 74% of the way. And with this team fight breaking out again, we're starting to see that additional damage at level 4 that Lunara does have, quickly chunking Cal TM out, and he is going to have to back away, grab a potion, which leaves this beacon at a neutral position.
And actually, top lane going to be held over by Mr. Large, just taking that advantage while Nikki was just laning above them. And overall, I mean, the back and forth right now between these two teams, I gotta say, it's smart play. I won't say it's, slow play. It's just everyone's playing fairly smart. As Cal TM will rotate top, they have the charge on bottom. We'll, cancel this out. So they sit at 8%, but top will be held over by Cal TM and Nikki as the members of gillyShark down here. With the 4 members available, they should be able to push in here and get a lot of value.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the pushing, like you said, so I believe, so we are playing on live, and so we do have the changes to the experience distribution between the towers, and so there's not going to be so much of a focus on pushing in that lane too deep because it puts you in a really dangerous position, but no longer gets you as much of an experience lead as it used to. Lunara ends up going down here in the bottom lane, getting a bit too aggressive, and Reepsville finally claiming 100% of their Zerg wave. This is going to be a very difficult push for gillyShark to defend against.
Yeah, they're going to need to try and get some wave clear on this. The Lunara, as you noted, is dead. Actually, there is going to be the toss on to one of the members. Jinxie Cat trying to get out. There will be the portal to keep them safe. Some more stacks are going to be going out onto the Gul'dan here as they push in with the Zerg wave, and they're going to get a lot of value with this as there is going to be the protect status out. Kaimo Tripson going to have that heal for the friendly member, and just some poke damage is going to be coming out as well. They're going to try and get this clear from the opposite side of their fort, but it looks like this is going to be a free fort in favor for Reepsville Gazette.
Yeah, with keeping the Sonya up in the top lane during this phase, there's not too much you can really do to save against such a strong Zerg push. So you have to sort of give it up and say, we'll give up the experience now and attempt in the next few minutes before the next beacon phase to make that up somewhere else on the map. I'm going to guess that both these teams are going to beeline right for some camps if possible, but we're actually going to see Reepsville move up here to the top, clearing out this top lane a bit, grabbing those taps on the well, as you do, just to make sure you're alive for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and just kind of pre-tap, get themselves set up here, and overall it's just going to be camp rotations between the two teams. They're just going to prep their lanes, and I think there's a minute and a half before the next objective will pop back up on the map, so we will just be having lanes being cleared out and camps being grabbed, and overall it's a race to 10 before that, and Reepsville Gazette, they're kind of setting the pace for that, and if they can get to 10 first, this is going to be a lot easier of a beacon phase coming up for them.
Yeah, and just looking at talents, level 7 for Stukov, taking the additional range on that Lurking Arm, putting him in a bit more of a safe position in order to help defend or keep these beacons going forward. And on top of that, with now, let's see, Splintered Spiel coming out from Lunara, I'm going to imagine if gillyShark wants to give Reepsville a really hard time on these beacons, it's going to start now. So I'm really hoping that they come in a bit more aggressive and a bit more early onto these beacons and really try to push Reepsville out of there as soon as possible so they can get a healthy Zerg wave of their own.
And I like what they're doing here as well. They're just pushing down bottom even further. They're opening this up. They're taking out the sidewalls, which provide vision. They're no experience or anything, but just opening it up so there's a wider range for them to go ahead and get more value here as they do get the toss onto Mr. Lard. Gonna get the root as well from the Deckard, and that's a lot of damage going out. No kill, but they are able to continue to push down this lane. They still have this camp in their favor as Stark is maybe going to get tossed soon. CalTM is going to be walking up forth. Protect status will be coming out. Taunt is going to be there, and that will be a kill going over to Reepsville Gazette.
Yeah, so I was about to say earlier, that was a really great setup of that Protect lurking arm that we talked about in the draft to help team members escape. Cryo, though, ends up getting flipped, ends up going down, and Jinxie also going incredibly low, ends up falling right after. And that is 3 down currently on the side of gillyShark. Reepsville continuing the push in, and with that level 10 pickup of Taunt, it sort of negates that entire combo, right, of the Protect, of the Silence, because you're still forcing that opponent in, and there's not much they can do. They're in a rock and a hard place as well, and Stark ends up getting flipped and taken down immediately after reviving twice in a row.
Unfortunately, just portaling into the team like that, I don't know what were they trying to utilize the reflect from the arcane explosion? And I mean, they got some value, but unfortunately, it just wasn't what they were looking for. We do have the bottom beacon being held over in favor for the members of Reepsville Gazette. They'll rotate their team up into top, and it looks like at this time they're going to go ahead and just kind of start stacking themselves up as a larger group and looking for those blow-up kills that we've seen them get consistently throughout this game. The other thing too, having all 5 members in this top like this, they won't, bottom will get canceled out, but they can push in a little bit more, allowing their potential Zerg wave to be even stronger.
Right. As we were kind of talking about before, even with that redistribution of experience, it's still really important to prepare this lane as much as possible for your Zerg so that it can start attacking that fort or that keep as soon as possible, because that's really where that experience lies. Even still, we have a 2-level lead for Reepsville Gazette, so I don't think they're too worried about the experience front, but they would very much like to get 13. I see this bush party going on with gillyShark over here in the corner, and they're trying to invade.
There's a huge leyline seal onto 4 members right now. Let's see what they're able to do. There's going to be the Commandeer Odin coming down as well. There's the taunt that went out from CalTM. Lunara jumping around trying to get so much damage out. No one has fallen at this point. CalTM with just a couple hundred health, and it looks like they make it out. No one going to be dying. Just a bunch of R buttons pressed, and it looks like they're going to go back in for this as the silence goes out. We have the root going to be going out. That is going to be the toss on to Mr. Lard. So much damage going to be there, as well as the last rites, and they get that kill onto the Sonya. They move in for more, but Jake the Snake is all by themselves. Lunara trying to get that damage with the Splintered Spear and Leaping Strikes. Not going to be happening as CalTM gets the channel onto this beacon, and they will continue to hold this over and get more charges. They get the toss onto Jinxie Cat. Portal through, and it looks like they're getting that Gul'dan down.
That ends up being a trade as Murden goes down in the back, and Nikki chasing down Kaimo right now. They're going to be able to back away just fine, but that is another extremely healthy Zerg wave coming in for Reepsville Gazette. gillyShark again with an not a percentage really to their name this phase, and with level 13s now, it gets a bit more dangerous to fight. They're likely expecting to lose this fort as well as they did last time. It's just whether or not Reepsville wants to go in for more than that, knowing that they have the talent advantage. Sonya's pushing with what little Zerg force they have as possible, trying to see what experience they can make up that they're already lacking. But this is a really tricky spot for gillyShark, and they're going to have to play this extremely cautiously and try not to get too risky like we saw with the Medivh portals earlier in this game.
We'll have to see here if they're able to get anything. As the gate goes down, we do have about a third of the health left for this Zerg wave. They're starting to push up. They've got the keep front gate. Question is, do they go for more? They've just got the Guardians and some ground units, and they'll just go ahead and back right off of here. Gul'dan being in that bottom lane, going to be pushing back the Sonya very, very well. I really like that play. It forced Mr. Lard to really not get the value that I think that they were hoping for. Also, we do have this hard rotation from the members of Reepsville Gazette, but Mr. Lard will be able to kind of sneak away along the side. Not going to be losing their Sonya anytime soon, but it's 12-14, and it's still in favor for the members of Reepsville Gazette, so they'll go ahead and take some aggressive rotations and also grab these camps in their favor, so that, with this talent tier advantage, it's like, come on, step up to us. It's really, really risky for you.
Yeah, and gillyShark knows that, so they're just going to stay in the gutters, spy this out a bit. They actually end up using the leyline seal in order to take that camp away from Reepsville, but Medivh ends up paying for his life with that decision. Renato is going to come out and try to capture someone on gillyShark and pull them in. doesn't necessarily land, but I love using Lornado that way. Rather than a disengagement, say, I'm going to try to trap you in and force you ever so closer to us. So definitely worth the attempt for Reepsville Gazette. But now focusing on this boss, this is a really excellent call. They don't really have anything pressuring them right now. Lanes are pushed in their favor. And so being able to grab this and potentially push into the keep and possibly get it down is a really, really great call by them.
And with that, they're going to go ahead and even just rotate to the Bruisers and take that. And just having this almost 2 talent tier advantage over the members of gillyShark here, they're able just to be aggressive and do whatever they want. I mean, there's really nothing to... the enemy team can fight them back, but it's just really, really risky. There's definitely setups available. We have almost all the heroics off cooldown. It looks like the members of Reepsville Gazette want to take this top keep, so that way they have catapult pressure in top, while they can focus on the beacon phase in bottom, allowing that lane to naturally push itself up a little bit more here. And the members of gillyShark are just trying to do the best they can. Sonya got 13 in the bottom lane. You can see them rotating up. They're going to want to try and take this fight, but unfortunately 16s were just achieved after getting that keep on the side of Reepsville Gazette.
Yeah, and with that 16 talent, that's really where we start to see a lot of power spikes going in on Jinxie Cat. A bit too far in, ends up being taken down. Mr. Large trying to follow up, get some healing, whirlwinding out of there. But this boss is still pretty healthy. It's starting to go down a bit around a third, but the shields are already gone from the core. Is Reepsville going to keep pushing and take this game?
We have some of the members in the backline just trying to work down those backline members, but it's not working out for them as Lunar will be falling, and it looks like this is going to be the first game going over to the Reepsville Gazette. GG, well played. And so let's go ahead, let's jump into Infernal Shines. Kage, how you doing? Thanks for coming by. All right, so the one thing I didn't do because we were talking about all that other stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I didn't even update the score, so let me go ahead and do that real quick so everyone does know who scored where in this best of 3 so far. And the one thing that I'll just go ahead and burn through really quickly, the map bans that were pulled out of the game here. I don't know. I can't succinct my words at all today. So gillyShark banned out Tomb of Spider Queen, and Reepsville Gazette banned out Volskaya. Brax's holdout was chosen by Reepsville Gazette, and they actually just won that game. We'll see what gillyShark will be doing. This is their map of choice, giving first pick, first ban over to the Reepsville Gazette. What do you go into here? Like, what do you... Your Infernal Shrines draft, what do you kind of like look for? What are you afraid of, and what do you not want to deal with?
So I usually hate dealing with Stukov on this map in particular. Compared to other heroes who lend really well to controlling those shrines area, you can like also half control the shrine area, but with Stukov on the opposite team, that lurking arm just gets so oppressive, and you can't even usually, if placed well, get anywhere near that shrine. You can't even steal skeletal defenders away from your opponent, and so that's usually top ban for me when I play. Garrosh, also just a nightmare to deal with right now. He is, I'm going to say, the strongest warrior in this game. Blaze makes sense. Alex Straza, a bit early, but I like it. And
I agree with that. I have a friend who plays support, and he's when we're doing drafts and like team league together, the one complaint, like I'm like, hey, I want you to play Alex Straza because Infernal Shrines, it's a great map for Alex Straza. She's got great point control. Dragon Form is great. The healing, the abundance is a phenomenal tool because you are kind of clumping up in those skeletal defender areas. But at the same time, the one complaint he always says, he's just like, don't pick it early. And I'm like, I agree. Now that I've watched you get destroyed by chromies, destroyed by any mage who, anytime you put an abundance circle down, they're just like, that is where I'm going to put all my spell damage. Have fun trying to get healed.
It's a actual bullseye on the ground when you throw that out. And so you either need someone extremely powerful to, kind of protect the front of that and allow the rest of your team to heal up in there. Or you just have other tools that make the enemy team afraid to invade in there in the first place. So it's tricky, and knowing that that's going to be there is likely going to allow them to capitalize. Gul'dan probably going to stack up really well, knowing that they're going to be grouped in there. So, and
that was the one thing that I was even just like, oh man, because I mean they grabbed the Diablo at the start. Great tank for this map. I think you can get a lot of value here. Deckard Cain is a phenomenal hero to support that Diablo, as well as the type of engagement that you get here, able to kind of put those potions around the backline of the area so teams can rotate in and out and get the necessary healing they need, and then you have Gul'dan poking in, and I'm laughing here so hard because that is a target ban if I have ever seen one. One of the members of gillyShark here, Stark specifically, actually plays a phenomenal Samurai on this map too. But we actually do get a Thrall and a Phoenix, and that's still another duo that's kind of scary on this map.
Yeah, we talked about Thrall last time around with potentially those earthquakes being able to trap teams in, not allow them to escape as quickly as they want. And Phoenix, always pretty strong, easy to deal with though if you simply know how. We saw, some rough Phoenix play actually in Midseason Brawl the past couple days, where if he is the sole focus, then likely going to be dead or retreating very, very quickly. So Phoenix gonna have to be a bit careful going into this. I'm
looking over at Twitch chat right now, and it's just the fans are demanding Cho'Gall, and I'm like, could you? And I'm like, you could make an argument for Reepsville Gazette to totally take a Cho'Gall, but unfortunately we are just gonna be getting this, actually still fortunately, because it's Zeratul and also Dahaka. I'm really interested to see. I like that you say
we're just getting Zeratul.
We're just getting Zeratul Dahaka. Like, it's no big deal. But actually, Zeratul starting to see a little bit more play, popping out a little bit more. The other thing to note too is that you have a huge setup at this point. You can basically get Void Prism into Stay a While and Listen into Apocalypse, or however you want to order those things. So a lot of really good setup and a lot of good play and synergy for their team. What do you round out the rest of the draft with on the side of gillyShark here? Kat?
I mean, your Sonya's gone, your Garrosh is gone, your Johanna's gone. You could... ETC doesn't come out at me. I don't think there's enough to capitalize on Mosh Pit. You could see a stage dive ETC in that vein. But I just want another... I don't want Blaze as the sole warrior here. We're going to end up getting Arthas, interestingly enough.
I like it. I think Arthas has a great place on this map. The other thing too is I think this is a phenomenal map for Sindragosa. You can take Armor the Undead, which is typically what we see is more sustain, more fight. You get in these brawls over the shrines a little bit longer. But if you are capitalizing and playing really, really well, I definitely think that, realistically, the Sindragosa gets so much siege value. You can push down the lanes, and it's also, you can also capitalize on some great team fights. It combos well into the Thrall Earthquake as well, and then Phoenix has the I'm not Planet Cracker. Purification Salvo.
It's not. There we go. I was thinking Suppression Pulse, and I was like, not even the right
I do the same thing. I always mix up his. But no, the Purification Salvo will get a lot of value with the slows, the roots, because it does give you extra damage for members that are or enemies that are slowed. So a lot of really good setup here on the side of gillyShark. We're gonna have to see though how it plays out in this game number 2.
Yep, and starting on the blue side, the team hoping to get a win here on this map and keep this series going, we will have gillyShark. We're going to have Kaimo Tripson on Alex Straza, Mr. Lard on Blaze, Stark will be on Thrall, Jinxie Cat on Arthas, and Darkstorm on Phoenix.
And on the right-hand side, up one game, we have the Reepsville Gazette with Jake the Snake going to be playing the Zeratul. CalTM going to be on the Diablo. Boiled Frog's going to be on that Deckard Cain. Akin going to be on the Gul'dan. And rounding it out with Nikki on the Dahaka. Let's go ahead and let's get into this.
There's something I forgot to say during this draft that I definitely, before the games even started, that I very much wanted to bring up. Just to add a bit of flavor to this whole matchup in general. Last week, Division B semifinals between Heroes of the United States and the One Tricks. Heroes of the United States end up winning, and out of that interview come out saying, we want gillyShark to win this because we want to beat them in this division. They lost to them in the first week of regular season, and kind of had a little bit of bloodlust in their voices when they were talking about it. And so gillyShark has the challenge out there. They just need to make something happen in this game 2 to get a bit of that momentum and take this to game 3.
I'm excited about that because I want that game 3. I want that bloodlust, as you say, between these two teams. That's also like, that's such an awesome thing to say, like in an interview too, to like have that little bit of a story from almost the beginning of the season to come back and be like, yes, like we're holding on to that kind of like, that's the thing we've been holding on to all season. But
it's been our grudge.
But let's get into this game here, as we've just been having the rotations coming up between these two lanes. Mr. Lard and Nikki going to be in this top lane just 1v1ing. The back and forth between those two is going to be interesting, but this will be where all our fun is between these two teams, as we just have the rotations coming out. Jinxie Cat going to get rooted by the Decker Kane here. No follow-up damage, as Caltium already had shoved them into the wall, but strong start from the members of Reepsville Gazette, as it looks like they're kind of controlling these lanes a little bit more than gillyShark.
Yeah, and they're, because of that, able to rotate up a bit more quickly. Nikki Santaro giving Mr. Lard a bit of a run for their money up in that top lane. Jinxie ends up getting caught up trying to rotate top and ends up being the first blood of this game. And that was a very interesting and dangerous rotation, I will say, going directly through that mid-shrine area. You never know when the enemy team is going to be lurking around, and gillyShark even saw them start to rotate upwards, so going to have to be a bit more careful with those rotations going through this game.
And at this point, they're going to be... I get the idea of, like, you know, wanting to anchor for your team and make sure that, you know, you are providing that vision, but unfortunately with the way and the aggression that they're playing on the side of the Reepsville Gazette, I think gillyShark has to play this a little bit slower on their side. I think they can't play as aggressive as they have been, because they're just getting almost outmatched every single brawl, especially the backline damage coming out from Gul'dan, the setup that's been coming out from Bullet Frogs, and Caltium being able to dive on specific members so far. The disruption and the poke that's coming out from these members is just really, really strong. gillyShark, they've just got to get a couple strong rotations here. Maybe they can get a pick onto one of those members that is a little bit too far extended, but they will get some decent experience here, as Dahaka's already burrowed into the friendly team as they set up for the first shrine here in the top lane.
These rotations from Reepsville right now are out of their mind. They are so quick to go grab camps before the objective, and once one camp is on, they say, where's the next? Where can we go safely and build up that pressure? They've been going back to back on that bottom and that mid camp directly, and gillyShark is just left playing catch up. Mr. Lard having to be really careful here, as 4 members from Reepsville end up invading, looking incredibly low. Jinxie Cat trying to put out a bit of damage herself, but it's looking kind of grim.
Mr. Lard being able to live through that. Caltium actually getting the save. Jake the Snake, though, so low, under 100 health at one point. They're going to have to back off of here, and I do not believe it. I cannot believe that they made it out of that alive. Mr. Lard had just a sliver of health, and even Caltium with that overpower just helping out. That will be gillyShark moving on to this point, but Reepsville Gazette are coming back for some fight.
Yeah, and I think that just shows the power that Alex Raza has, right? With those heals, able to get Mr. Lard out of there. Now going back in, both these teams, gillyShark currently in the lead for Skeletal Defenders. They just need to stay alive long enough to finish this out. Sitting at 32, Caltium looking really low. Darkstorm ends up getting pinned against the wall, trying to scoot on out of there. gillyShark going to retreat. Alex Raza ends up going down, though. And now this shrine, Reepsville going in.
Reepsville Gazette are going to go ahead and work on this as best they can, but the Gul'dan is going to be getting hit a ton here. Boiled Frogs is going to be dove on by a couple of members. They back off, as Jake the Snake and Nikki are going to be bugging a couple of them. They actually get the kill onto the Zeratul as well as the Gul'dan here. They're starting to turn this around, but Diablo has got that huge pin onto Darkstorm. The blink is not there, the warp is not there in time, but they will be getting the first Punisher of the game going over in favor for the members of gillyShark, a 2-for-1 trade.
I am so surprised gillyShark still went into that fight without their support, because I would be terrified, personally, with the amount of aggression coming out of Reepsville and how close these fights have been. That was risky. Phoenix ended up going down in that fight, but gillyShark got the Punisher. They know this is going to give them a lot of experience if they can get this fort down, which puts them in a really great position going forward. And that Punisher is pounding on Caltium.
It is currently aggressing. They're actually getting a lot of value for this first Punisher. We actually have Jinxie Cat getting dove on by one of the members here, but Caltium a little bit low. They're going to start to turn this around. They're fighting under the enemy fort, but they've got a minion wave. Caltium will be falling here. All those souls will be gone, so Diablo not as scary as he was just now with the extra healing from the 100 souls, but at the same time, they don't really have anyone down for too long. They can just rotate right back up the lane and just continue to soak this up. these members, I gotta say, the kills and the back and forth between these two teams, it's completely different compared to game number 1.
Yeah, something, sparked a fire in gillyShark, and I really like them coming out and being this aggressive, now grabbing camps of their own. I would like to see them build up on that macro pressure that they were sort of losing out on earlier in this game, given that Reepsville was so oppressive everywhere on the map. I do want to say, because I love pointing out little things like this, Deckard earlier checked the camp with the Scroll of Sealing, thinking that gillyShark might have invaded it after that push when they got that fort down. And I thought that was really clever and something more Deckard should do. Mm-hmm. This has been your talent PSA for the day. And I hope to see that
don't face check camps as a support. Use your abilities. Yeah, exactly. The other thing too is also, during that last engagement, they ended up utilizing the Haragic Cube to actually get some closing damage on a kill very early during that phase. So I really like how they're playing that right here. But we do have 4 members of gillyShark in this bottom lane. They're looking to push up with this camp a little bit, but they're getting forced back by the 3 members in bottom from Reepsville Gazette. As Zeratul has been pushing up mid, they won't be able to catch them pushed up too far as they sneak away here, but the gate will take some damage as mid lane is going to be the next lane for our Punisher, and we also have Tenza Chief for both sides. Nothing too out of the ordinary. We don't get the Sendragosa, we end up getting the Army of the Undead, and otherwise nothing too out of the ordinary. I think the Dahaka ended up going for the Isolation. Yep. No adaptation, so no extra damage, but we'll be able to kind of shut down one here. We're curious to see how that will play out. But we do currently have members rotating around, getting camps, pushing up the lanes, and preparing for the next Punisher, which should be popping fairly soon.
Yeah, Reepsville is going to want to clear out this camp before the next phase because they don't want to be distracted in multiple lanes at once if they don't need to be able to focus pushing in mid, getting as much control of that lane as possible while also getting those skeletal defenders. That camp is not going to make it too far forward, evening this out, but this push on bottom from gillyShark, taking out these towers is nothing to ignore, even though that experience is lesser now. Value is value, and whenever the Shrine ends up spawning on bottom, that lane is fully prepared. So I really like this call by them, and I like the response from Reepsville saying, well, we'll trade you then. We'll lose one, you'll lose one, and it kind of ends up being a bit of a draw, especially in experience where both teams are incredibly close.
That is so true. I mean, we're looking at 11 and 11, like an eighth of a level difference between the two. It's not even that much, as we do have the next Punisher coming up here. It will be a Frozen Punisher as well. Mid lane, they were trying to prep it up a little bit with Dahaka there, but it won't be happening. So 11 to 11, everything is off cooldown. We're just waiting for someone to step up a little bit too far forward. Jake the Snake is kind of prowling around looking for that Void Prism just to set up the Apocalypse, but it's not happening just yet. We have the Dahaka trying to get the Tongue Drag onto one member, didn't connect there as well. As it looks like gillyShark will be moving onto this cat, and I think they might be able to take the next Punisher as well.
Yeah, they already have 25, so long as Reepsville decides not to engage too hard, this looks like easy pickings, but I wouldn't expect Reepsville to give it up so easily. Void Prison ends up going down on the back. APOC does come out, hitting a couple members. Bunker's also out as well. Kaimo, incredibly low, ends up falling first, and this is looking a bit more tricky on the side of gillyShark. But instead, Reepsville end up losing 2, and are they going to lose more? They lose 4. Can they be a 5th kill on Nikki Santoro, trying to back away? The stun comes out. Jinxie Cat going in, making sure that Dahaka is slowed, and that is a team wipe for gillyShark.
All 5 members are going to be going down here. They have the easy free push into this mid lane. They're not even going to split some members off. Alex Draza going to be back at this time. Thrall going to be 6 seconds away from coming back. Almost all members from Reepsville Gazette will pop by the time I think they start to really work their way into this mid lane fort. But at this point, I think this is given over for free because it's 13 to 12, and we saw in the last game it's kind of risky to take some of these fights as Gul'dan will be baiting the jump there. They're going to pull them over to the keep front gate. Still about 20% on this Punisher. I don't think they're going to go more than just this mid lane fort, but definitely taking out the well, taking out the fort, and getting this experience and continuing to just have this pressure and this control on the map. Looks like gillyShark are looking fairly good to continue to pressure, and the next Punisher phase I think will really determine who's going to be coming out on top.
Yeah, Boiled Frog's trying to stall this siege camp as much as Deckard possibly can, but really great pickup there from gillyShark with that talent experience ahead, being able to take that without feeling too much pressure. Now we're going to rotate here on the bottom, grab this camp as well, and they're just hoping to, at this point, keep control of that macro game, keep a lot of pressure everywhere on the map, making sure they're forcing Dahaka to rotate out of lane so that they have more of a 5v4 fight in certain situations, trying to find those advantages where they can get another pick and snowball that experience.
And this is I like what they're doing here. They're pulling the assets of Reepsville Gazette. You can see that Zeratil's in mid, Dahaka's in top. They know this fact. They can see that on the mini map. So they're going to go ahead and just pressure into the bottom lane, prepare this. Now, if the next Punisher is bottom, actually it's not going to be. I can see it on the mini map myself, and it will be top lane. But they go ahead and they open up the map even more for themselves just to make that more difficult for the members of Reepsville Gazette, as it looks like Dahaka does back off. They take this kind of shadowy rotation, but it won't be happening, as it looks like they go ahead. They'll grab their camp, have that pressured up into the top lane, and they're going to be doing the exact same thing on the side of Reepsville Gazette.
Yeah, and also good to know, all 3 forts on the side of Reepsville Gazette have now been taken out. And so if this next Punisher goes to gillyShark, you're looking at keep pressure. And with them approaching 16 and it still being 2 levels away for the side of Reepsville Gazette, that's a really scary situation to be in. It's hard to defend against, it's hard to engage with, but they say, we don't care. KTM goes in hard on Stark. Earthquake, APOC, Void Prison, it all comes out.
It looks like we do have the Fear out as well. We do not lose Stark just yet, but they do actually get the kill onto the Thrall. That will be the first one going down. We have the Purification Salvo coming out from Darkstorm. Not able to get any kills just yet. We have the Alexstrasza in that Cleansing Flame trying to get some poke damage out, but they're going to go ahead and just back off from this. They got the pick they're looking for. They retreat completely. They're looking for the fight on the side of gillyShark, and they want that extra blood, but you know what? They're going to have to deal with their 20-second death timer on Stark. Now, granted, we haven't even had the objective proc yet, or even countdown for that, so the Thrall should be back just in time for that to be coming up, as well as the fact that they're able to clear out this camp and prep up these lanes. Everything's crashing in mid, and it doesn't look like there's really any map advantage for either team, outside the fact that we almost have 16 on the side of gillyShark, and I think they know that, and they want to take the fight down that Thrall.
Yeah, they have potentially the advantage to still do that. They've taken fights being down a member before. Last time that they were lacking their support, this time they're lacking the Thrall, and sometimes they're okay with it, sometimes they're not, but staying closer to their keep and having that additional protection from KTM going in with the charge definitely helps gillyShark kind of push off Reepsville Gazette, at least for a little bit. The 16 is now grabbed for gillyShark, and Reepsville, do they end up going in, or do they let this go?
I think they're going to let it go. You can see Jake the Snake trying to just soak up a little bit more in mid. They're actually going to make that rotation, as they're going to let Dahaka just take that. We have the Horrify coming out. Stark being separated from the team a lot here, but it's not going to be looking like they're going to be able to get any sort of big picks just yet. Stark working on Boiled Frogs as the rest of the team is fighting on the other side of the lane. Huge root going to be coming out. We also have the Void Prism, but mistiming with the Apocalypse here. Dive going to be going in on to Jake the Snake. They get the Blink out. That will be the Zeratul falling first here. We have the Cleansing Flame coming out from the Alexstrasza. The Purification Salve will be hitting so many members. The Cleansing Flame is keeping so many members alive, and they're able to continue to dive on this. That is another kill for the members of gillyShark. They get the root onto KTM, but they pick off the Gul'dan first. Darkstorm taking so much poison damage, but that will be Diablo falling, losing all those souls. All that's left is the Decker Cane and Diablo.
There were about 3 different moments when I said, Stark is going down. Thrall has barely any health. This is where they say, you know what, we'll trade 1 for 3. That Cleansing Flame kept him alive for so long. Props to Alexstrasza for being able to support her team, getting those picks and putting them in a really great position. Blaze clearing out the skeletal defenders while the rest of gillyShark starts taking down that wall so that they can attack the keep as soon as possible with this Punisher.
I like that. They didn't overextend themselves. The death timers were still a little bit low here, and so they came back. They got the sidewall. They got a little damage onto the gate itself. That allows them to just push. They can rotate the sidewall, get the pick after the Punisher gets baited over the gate. I really like the setup from the side of gillyShark, but they're going to be fighting a team that now has 16s as well. Even talent here, even fight, and it's going to be under their keep. They've got a mini wave and a Punisher on the side of gillyShark, so we'll see what they're able to do with that, but Nikki is going to be in the bottom lane. I do believe they're probably going to have that brush stalk at any point. They just want to push this up a little bit more, as we do have the Punisher getting baited over, and they're trying to pull this over towards mid so they don't allow it to take this top keep damage, but I think the Punisher has other choices.
gillyShark's going to have to be really careful. Like you said, fighting under the enemy's keep, you're a level up, you might feel like you're able to push in a bit farther than you should, but this is where mistakes get made. Jigsy Cat ends up getting tongued over by Nikki Santoro. Earthquake does come out. The APOC to follow. Jake the Snake, though, looking low. The Purification Salve comes out. Darkstorm ends up taking that Zeratul out, and KTM falls right after.
And that is going to be 2 members down. The Punisher sitting at 10% health. They rotate over to the core. Dragon Form is actually going to be coming out from Kaimo Tripson here. Punisher will be falling, but with 2 dead, they're looking to end the game here as they have clumped up around this core. And I think that is going to be game number 2 going over to gillyShark. I don't want to call it too early, but I don't think they're going to be defending this. Yeah, the GG's come out. That is going to be game number 2 going over to gillyShark. GG, well played.
Yeah, definitely don't want to bring the caster curse over to NGS very often. So good to wait out until it's a bit.
We're going to be going to Towers of Doom.
Towers of Doom. I was trying to look through my notes to see if I
Same.
had written down that draft, and I don't seem to have it in here. It makes me so sad.
I know, like I know it was a game. It was a Towers of Doom game.
It was a wacky game for sure.
Oh, I remember because they had the best name. It was
the One Tricks. It was the One Tricks and the blue team.
Oh, I was thinking it was
the Cho'Gall the Lost Vikings.
Okay, I thought it was the Bush versus Dat Task though. I thought it was that series.
Oh, that also was an extremely good series. There's too many good games, too many good series. I like the Alex Strauss-Band coming out here from Reepsville Gazette, just saying, y'all played that hero really, really well. We're not gonna deal with that this time around.
And then we actually get the respect ban from gillyShark from that first game onto the Garrosh. And really quickly, just to catch everyone up in chat, map ban was Tomb of the Spider King was banned out by gillyShark. Reepsville Gazette banned out Volskaya Foundry. Game 1 was chosen by Reepsville Gazette, and they picked Braxis Holdout and won it. Game 2 was chosen by gillyShark, took us to Infernal Shrines. They won that. So now we're going to Game 3, chosen by Reepsville Gazette. They chose Towers of Doom, giving first pick, first ban over to gillyShark, and they grabbed the Dahaka off the bat. Now, this isn't something that I've honestly seen a ton in the first slot. We see it a little bit later, mostly because I would say the macro global play has kind of taken a little bit of a backseat. We often see things like Genji, Maiev, Hanzo. We see a lot of those in the top spot for the brawling aspect, the poke, the vision, as well as Lunara, I think, on the map like this with the vision she provides, really moves up in priority.
Yeah, that vision and also the ability to opt into that additional vision depending on how long your Wisp has been sitting out in the open, extraordinarily valuable. That said, Dahaka, he had his prime, right, where he was first pick worthy, and there's still a lot of questions I have about the changes in how experience was distributed between structures, and it's one of those things where do globals fall off entirely, or do they become that much more important so that you can, even though the gates aren't going down immediately and giving you a lot of experience, the main experience is now the fort and the keep, and you want to get there as soon as possible. And so is that something that Dahaka is going to help with? Not waiting for it to get banned out this time. Samuro coming out. Stark, you have your boy, your ninja, followed up by Stukov.
I love this. I was actually in the back of my mind. I was just like, I've casted them enough. Like, I was like, are we going to be seeing it here before this ban phase? And absolutely, we are going to be getting that. So we have the Dahaka, Samuro, and Stukov on the side of gillyShark, and then Genji Sonya on the side of Reepsville Gazette. Looking at the draft of gillyShark here, I would honestly just either focus out a main tank that you know that you don't want to deal with, or you focus on a healer not a healer, some poke damage. I personally say take out the main tank and just kind of cripple that a little bit more. I think that's a little bit easier because at this point you can pick up Hanzo, Jaina, Junkrat. Like there are so many options for poke on a map like this, and realistically, drawing this out gives so much value over to the Dahaka. But really quickly on the note too of what you had said about globals as well falling off, that was the big argument that like when Towers, when there was the big game change early in the year when Towers no longer had ammunition, a lot of people said that split push value like Abathur, things like that, that you have just kind of sitting in that lane don't get the same value anymore because you can't run out of the tower shots and then just have your lane just pushed up. But at the same time, I still think that just transition in playstyle, and we get a lot of good value still from the split push. But Phoenix going to be taken out. Do not want to deal with that.
Yeah, and even specifically on this map, even though you're not permanently taking out forts or towers like we are in other maps, the conversion of those bell towers are so important. And so even if that experience is different, that just forces your team to scramble because they can claim it back. They're going to try to do that as additional shots, which then gives you the opportunity to go build up again on that macro pressure, go grab some of their camps if they're showing by those bell towers. And so I think globals will never die on Towers of Doom,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, which is why I love the priority of Dahaka here. Also being able to come in, help harass. Samuro's going to harass. Sukov's going to harass. This is the most shrine harassment team so far, I think, in this game. I'm kind of curious if maybe, and call me crazy, do we see something like Tassadar come out who can give that vision and maybe help scope out where that Samuro is hiding?
That is something that we have seen on maps like this, where you do get that double support. We do have the Cassia for the blind and the Malfurion. Based on their draft currently, I wouldn't expect it. I don't think they're going to run that solo Sonya. There's a possibility for it. We never know.
Very
but
rare.
in a game 3 for the playoffs to advance into the semifinals for next week, I think these teams are going to be just drafting like their core, their best. Now, I will say the Samuro is a little bit of a risky play, but if you've ever seen Stark's Samuro, you know that it's almost a comfort pick at this point.
It is the ultimate comfort pick for him, and he slays on Samuro, and he talks about it very openly, so it's very common knowledge. I think even if you haven't checked out the Nexus gaming series very often, he's always on Gilly's stream, he's talking about that Samuro, he's always defending it, so props to sticking to your guns, Stark, and making those weird heroes work. I think between the two of us, we have our own heroes that, you know, we back you up in those weird picks and making them work.
You gotta pick up those good picks.
Yeah.
But we actually get a Gul'dan. I like that. Boss control for the members of gillyShark, and then a Joanna on top of that. Response into the blinds, but we have a Stitches pickup here.
Instant Stitches too, which means that Reepsville has a plan here, and that Cassia with that 11% health buff, do not take that lightly, ladies and gentlemen. It is terrifying how long she can live if not being focused down properly. Finally seeing the Johanna get picked up after being banned in both game 1 and 2 is very interesting. Reepsville saying we were afraid of it before, but it's something we're willing to give up because we think we can outplay it specifically on this map.
And I mean, honestly, on this map, the Joanna, I think, is a great pickup for them. Into the amount of auto attack that they have on the side of the Reepsville Gazette, I think that's a great aspect. The other thing too, though, is the blinds that will come up from the Cassia onto Samuro are going to be a little difficult for them to deal with. We'll have to see how that response is going to be. But overall, between the two teams, taking out what we saw in game 1 and game 2, the players, anything like that, I kind of think Reepsville Gazette, they've got a strong draft here. I'm a little worried for gillyShark, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about being known for such a weird hero is that it at least gives your enemy team something to practice, right? And so I'm wondering how much Reepsville Gazette had opportunities to practice against teams with Samuro to try to formulate a plan here. And we're going to have to see how that ends up paying off in the long run in game number 3, the final game of this set.
And let's go ahead. Let's get into this. On the left-hand side, we're going to have gillyShark with Stark going to be on the Samuro, Mr. Lard going to be on the Dahaka, Kaimo Tripson going to be on the Stukov, Jinxie Cat going to be on the Joanna, and Darkstorm going to be on the Gul'dan.
And in the red, we have Reepsville Gazette. Akin's going to be on Cassia, Caltium on Stitches, Jake the Snake on Sonya, Nikki Santoro on Genji, and Boiled Frogs on Malfurion.
So at this point, we are going to be having just this mid lane. From the members of Reepsville Gazette, though, they are going to be just rotating their Sonya up. They're already just getting into their lanes and just getting ready and going. They don't really care about this mid lane matchup. They're just like, we're here for experience, and we're in it for the long run.
Yeah. I'm looking at Cassia's level 1 pickup with Thunderstroke, which maybe this is more stylistic. I guess I'm so used to seeing people pick up the Charge Strikes ability. That helps you. It's a bit more of a damage percentage for a few seconds, as well as I think some spread on your damage. But when thinking about Towers of Doom and knowing that her Q is going to be so important in stalling those shrines, if you can build up damage on that and make that hurt a lot more, it gets way riskier to try to grab those shrines and kind of sit through that poke. So I really like that. I don't want to say it's an overall adjustment in talent choices, because there's other reasons to pick that up as well, but just something to note going forward through this game.
We have a lot of damage coming out into a couple of these members. We have Genji getting out with just a couple hundred health there. There's so much potential blow up onto that member, but looks like they are able to get out. No kills just yet, as Sonya's pushing Dahaka in top lane, far into this lane, as we have a little bit of chase in this bottom.
Yeah, I mean, they both have healing from their given abilities, but very interesting that Sonya's been able to push Dahaka in so far. That is one aggressive Dahaka and something that gillyShark could potentially punish if they can figure out the rotations, maybe figure out the pattern of when she's pushing in that far. But for now, we're going to see Stark stay fast and strong in that bot lane, helping out there. And in mid, Nikki Santaro taking a bit of damage, going to back off. And Sukov joining up as well.
At this point, between the two teams, they're just going to be able to make the rotations, get the experience. We have the first objective going to be popping up in the next 45 seconds here. Really quickly, just to go through some of the questing talents at one, we do have that Gul'dan going into the Echo Corruption, so going to be working on getting those stacks, sitting at 17 out of, I believe, the 40 necessary, as well as we have, a nice drag going out onto one of the members, but we had Genji dive up here as well, and Mr. Lard taking a bit of damage. Going to have to pop that burrow, but no death just yet still, as it looks like we're going to have the right side camp picked up in favor for the members of the Reepsville Gazette. They'll have this pressuring the bottom lane while the next the first altar phase will be popping up. And actually, Jake the Snake and Nikki in this top lane are going to go ahead and grab that as well. A little bit of an invade here in bottom, but they don't think they're going to be able to get a kill anytime soon.
Yeah, Atkins gonna pop out. Sukov throwing down that lurking arm, both teams disengaging. The spread of these three shrines is always so stressful. You never know how your enemy is going to possibly spread their resources across, and so you're always have to be afraid of getting picked out of position, assuming that 4 members of the enemy team are right around the corner. CalTM, though, getting body blocked by Stark, ends up getting picked off in the bush, and that will be first blood going over to gillyShark onto Stitches.
And so with that, also that pick that they had there that allows them to finish out the channel on that mid lane altar, and they will have that channel. So 8 shots going over in favor for gillyShark, and Reepsville Gazette are going to be doing 4 damage to the opposing core themselves. Sonya pushing in top lane a little bit here. We have the rotations coming out once again. Stark going to be pushing on this Genji in mid, as it looks like Cassie will be rotating up to help as well. Stitches back from death, and next altar phase, I think, is going to be just the double altar phase in mid and bottom. So at this point, we might see a little bit of a heavy priority to push down this bottom lane to control that extra altar, as you talked about in draft. But at this point, we actually have a heavier press from the Reepsville Gazette in mid.
Yeah, they've been able to push out these lanes really, really well, and keeping up on those rotations. This is always like a very interesting spot, right? This siege camp just came up for Stark, which means there's likely, or not for Stark, for gillyShark. Likely means that siege camp on the side of Reepsville also available, but there's always that awkward standstill when you've taken all the camps and all you have are the lanes and the team fight, and how willing are you to commit to that in the state you're in. With Reepsville Gazette having those lanes pushed out a bit more, I would assume they would at least want to maintain that, but not push too heavily and take on a team fight they didn't think they can win.
And I like this. They're poking into this bottom lane. They're pressuring this bottom for the control. And the one thing I'll note with that is holding over the bottom altar is probably one of the most important ones to hold on this map, because it's making the rotations into altar phases like this so much more difficult, as we do have a hook going on in the Darkstorm. So much damage is going to be going on. That will be Gul'dan popped, and so that it will be a response kill from the members of Reepsville Gazette, and that's great timing for them, as this will be the altar phase popping. Sonya already going to be going ahead and channeling the mid, as bottom will be pushed out. We have Cassia trying to get that channel there, but there was a little bit of an interrupt, and I don't think that they're going to be able to get the interrupt in time for this, and that will be gillyShark taking 8 shots to the core.
Yeah, even with the slight experience lead, gillyShark not wanting to push into a situation they know they don't have the upper hand on, so I really like being patient and saying it's not the end of the world right now. Again, this is Towers of Doom. It's not like you've permanently lost something like a fort. They can always make up experience by getting other forts, and so letting go of those shrines early in the game is absolutely an A-OK play in my book. Siege camp getting picked up by Reepsville Gazette, and the name of this game is Push Those Zappers, and see how much you can prepare those gates to be taken down, seeing if you can grab those bell towers before a shrine is active. CalTM's checking out this boss, thought was gonna try to help Jake the Snake with that pick off there, ends up coming back down to mid, where Samuro is still being a little bit oppressive, now rotating bottom.
And at this point, yeah, we have the rotation coming out. They will get the clear onto this camp. Not going to be able to have that pressure. Genji just trying to at least get some poke damage here, as well as maybe push it up a little bit further. But the silence will come out and won't allow that to be happening, as Mr. Lard will be scouting this out. They see CalTM right below them as well. I don't think Jake the Snake, and I don't think you want to be going into the Stitches and the Sonya here, but they will go ahead and at least soak this up. 10's almost achieved for either team. I want to say, though, this has been a fairly even game for experience between the two teams. It is so close, within about 1,000 experience between the two. 10s should be hitting almost simultaneously as we have the next altar phase popping up in 20 seconds in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and with the one single shrine and with 10s going to be online for both teams, this is going to be explosive. And I think if there's going to be a turning point that dictates the rest of this game, it might happen here. Both teams now going down. Dahaka still up in the top lane, trying to get experience, assuming we'll be able to burrow. Samuro still hang out in mid as well. I'm going to group down here, and will Reepsville be able to get this? And Subtle comes out from Johanna, ends up getting the poke. And the rest of the team's now moving in to help JinxieCat.
JinxieCat taking so much damage. That's going to be the leap in, as well as the ball lightning that's going to be jumping. Nikki is going to be jumping over the tower and actually going to be losing the Genji there, but they end up getting the counter kill onto the Malfurion and the Samuro. This is a back and forth between these two teams. 2-2 kills as Akin is taking so much damage here on that Cassia. CalTM trying to get that channel, but I don't know if they're going to be able to live. That poison on the Cassia is so much as they jump in, but that will be the minion wave actually getting the kill. So that's 3 members dead on the side of Reepsville Gazette. They get the tongue on to CalTM. They are losing so much health here. That's the Stitch is going to be falling as well. Jake the Snake going to get the spear out, and that will be the bottom altar captured by gillyShark.
I just need to rewind 10 seconds because Genji went so hard on getting Kaimo down and ended up going over the wall, used Protect to try to stay alive a little bit longer, but the towers ended up taking him down. And then Kaimo just kind of walks away, tapped the fountain, and it was no big deal. Ooh,
Genji.
Silence coming out on Nikki. Ends up being able to slide away. But, yeah, starting to get into dangerous territory for Reepsville Gazette. That team fight, if gillyShark can keep coordinating that way and making sure that they're able to kind of wait out the long game and capitalize very much one at a time, not trying to get too many members down at the same time, I think they could potentially take this small lead they have and grow it over the course of the next couple minutes.
And I think that's absolutely their goals. We saw Dahaka burrow into that top lane. Sonya already up there making sure that they don't get that value that they're looking for. Meanwhile, though, in bottom, we have the ball lightning going to be going out. It's going to be jumping off of JinxieCat, taking so much damage. That is going to be Genji getting that swipe through for the kill. Massive shove from Kaimo Tripson onto the Stitches just to separate them, but not going to be in time as they do lose their Joanna. They can't really pressure this bottom lane too much more as they get the dive in from Genji. There will be a hook onto Darkstorm here. I don't think they're going to be living as they just go ahead and just rotate right into the tower and say, take me so at least my teammates can get away.
Yeah, sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself and say they'll be focused on me, everyone else escape. That's totally fine, but with 20 seconds until these altars come up, Gul'dan will just have respawned. The tunnel, it doesn't look like has actually spawned yet, and so they're going to have to take the long way to these shrines if gillyShark hopes to contest. Reepsville taking this siege camp away from gillyShark too at the same time is going to cause a bit of distraction here as they start to channel this shrine.
I think, yeah, Boil Frogs is going to be getting this easy for free. They don't have 13s. They had a member down. They were rotating still. I like the call here just to go ahead and say, you know what, let it go. We'll go ahead and just, even up the experience. It's still 5-5, 13-13. Like, this is such an even game between these two teams. It's absolutely insane. Like, as I'm just looking at the numbers here as well. I mean, it's 37,000 experience to 38,000, and it's still within that 1,000 mark as we talked about before. They're staying so close together as Mr. Lard is getting invaded on this camp by Jake the Snake. There is going to be the tongue out, but it will not connect. They're going to continue to stay on this camp, though. I wonder if Sonya will be trying to take any sort of fight on this. Going to back off as the entire team has rotated up to the top lane.
Yeah, you really have to play it safe when things are so even and you want to keep them that way. Oh, beautiful hook coming out from CalTM. Ball lightning does come out. Dark Storm going down yet again thanks to that Stitches hook. But there's a trade for the Sonya on the side of Reepsville Gazette as this fight continues to go out. Mr. Lard kind of in the thick of it. The silence comes out. I think he's Santoro, and Stark is able to take him down. CalTM looking really low as well. gillyShark owning this team fight.
They're able to get 2 kills here, losing their Gul'dan from that early hook. That Horrify went out just to literally buy time, as Stitches also utilized the Putrid Bile just to slow them in any sort of engagement. But this is going to be a triple altar phase. The Gul'dan is back at this point. No center travel point anytime soon. I think it's around the 12-minute mark. I think it actually randomizes slightly. We'll see how these teams actually split themselves around this map. As we have the Joanna and Stukov rotating bottom, along with the Cassia. They leave the Samuro up here, and I think they're going to give over the right side. They're going to try and take 8 shots on the side of gillyShark.
Yeah, with all the bell towers being in their respectful owners, it really is simply the name of the game is try to get that third one. gillyShark currently down on shots, but only by 4, so it'd be nice if they can get more than that. And Samara is trying to make that happen while this team fight's going on here on bottom. Reepsville Gazette hoping to at least take one. Jinxie Cat kind of caught in the middle of a nice body block, but Stitch is looking incredibly low. Jinxie's gonna keep going in, but ends up going down as there's not enough follow-up damage from the rest of her team.
They lose the member in bottom lane. They lose their Joanna, but they end up getting in top both of the altars, so end up doing 8 damage themselves, pushing both these teams into that 20 health mark. So we are literally half health for both cars 12 minutes into the game here. The back and forth between the two teams, like I keep noting on how close this is, but it is a it's a very close game between these two teams, and it's anyone's game at this point. The death timers are still low enough where you can kind of make a couple of mistakes, but we're going to be looking to see maybe teams punish this a little bit harder, as we actually, without their Joanna, they're actually aggressing on this top lane extremely hard.
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful not to get ganked too hard, but KelTM and team now focusing on this bottom. The ball lightning does come out, and Stukov ends up going down. In this bell tower's half health, can Reepsville Gazette end up taking it in their favor? They lost theirs on the top, so it'd be an even trade, which puts everyone in, yet again, a very neutral position. I love the respect of both teams saying, you know, we're each 1-1 in this series. We had a draw earlier this season when the last time we met, and they're not going to take anything, they're not going to take any advantage over their opponents and assuming that they're going to play one way or another. I love this play from Stark and Mr. Lard of taking this boss while they can. Stark showing off why Samuro is such a good hero at chunking out those big beefy targets like that, like those bosses. So that puts them at a 4 health lead above their opponents.
And actually Stark being able to go ahead and just swap those mirror images around so quickly is a huge asset for them, as they can basically almost bait the team into just sitting there and hitting the wrong mirror image, as we do currently have Kaiwa Tripson going to be trying to grab this on the left-hand side. We have Boiled Frogs getting the right-hand side, being stalled out, but we have the leap in from the Sonya. We currently have the Stitches going to be falling very early. This might be going sideways for the members of Reepsville Gazette, as it looks like the ball lightning comes out. The Genji will be falling here. Stark going to go ahead and get the channel onto this, as Boiled Frogs got the right-hand side. They do not want to push this any further, and that will be gillyShark getting 4 and Reepsville Gazette getting 4 as well.
The roots on top of the silence just put Reepsville in a situation that they couldn't physically do anything. You are rooted, you can't move, you're silenced, you can't use any of your abilities, and that is such a tricky spot to get out of. And with the body blocks coming out from gillyShark, made sure they stayed there, got those 2 picks, and they are looking to push these zappers right to the core itself. Can Reepsville defend this? Jake the Snake kind of toeing the line here, seeing how much damage. The taunt comes out from gillyShark. Jake the Snake looking low, trying to get away, ends up going down, and all those shots end up making it through. gillyShark taking the lead, commanding this battlegrounds, and showing why this map is so exciting and you always have to be on your toes.
I'm currently just going to have Cassie working down that bottom lane, trying to push that up a little bit more. They were able to hold it over, but it looks like the camp will be, or the mini wave will be starting to work on that. They get the clear on top lane, but the members of gillyShark want to go ahead and grab 3 more shots and push that into the bottom. They also need to convert this bell tower fairly soon, because it's currently 5-3. The next altar phase is going to be in this mid position. As I said, it's still even. 18-18 on levels, so I don't think we're going to be seeing a 20 power spike anytime around this next altar phase, but a little bit after. We have the dive in on Jinxie Cat a little bit here. Some damage is going to be going out. They back right off of here. They do not... Ooh, actually, no, never mind. They go in with the Blessed Shield. They're going to be dumping damage, and that will be the Cassia falling here. They move further in, as it looks like Genji will have to use the dash out after tapping the well. They get one of the Pumpkin Sappers in... Actually going to get a hook on a Jinxie Cat. We have the Putrid Bile out as well. Do they have the Iron Skin? No.
Jinxie Cat ends up going down. I was actually going to really quickly say, really good job not pushing too deep into that fort and taking damage from that bell tower. But Jinxie Cat ends up getting the hook from Stitches. Iron Skin was used, and with the slows coming out from Reepsville Gazette as well, just unable to get away. KelTM is landing these hooks like nobody's business, and it is terrifying for whoever gets caught in there. With the follow-up from Genji, Kaimo, incredibly low, ends up going down as well. And Reepsville down but not out.
These late game hooks. Yep. These late game hooks are insane. We have Stark actually going to be going ahead and sneaking over to the right-hand side. They're going to go ahead and convert this over. I like this play. We have the Dahaka as well as the Gul'dan in the top lane going to be pushing that up on top of that. And these teams in this final game, they are playing their absolute minds out. I do have to say, some of these like sneaky plays between these lanes are phenomenal, as well as the way that they've just been kind of playing this so smart, able to kind of push them up and force them off and just getting almost free altar phases. But it still is 4-4. It's been consistently throughout the game. Dahaka leaving that top to get in position, maybe help out the friendly team, as it looks like they go ahead and they get the clear onto this right-hand side on the side of Reepsville Gazette, and they're going to be doing the exact same on the left-hand side by gillySharks.
Yeah, in terms of map pressure, we have one camp that's available right now, and it looks like Dahaka's going to go and scope that out and try to grab that for gillyShark. The rest of Reepsville, though, continuing the push down this bottom lane, seeing if they can catch yet another pick. The hook goes out but doesn't connect. And both these teams just seeing what they can grab safely. You don't want to assume that you can grab more than you can shoot, because that's where you're going to fall. And this late into the game, with core health being as close as it is, but still down for Reepsville Gazette, everyone's being careful as possible. Even Stark, try to bet out, but the hook comes out. But he ends up getting away just fine. And that is the annoyance of Samuro, ladies and gentlemen, that Stark is so good at.
We also currently have those sappers being fed into the top area. Jake the Snake is going to go ahead and get the channel on the right-hand side. We have the ball lightning coming out onto a couple of the members. They actually stop channeling because they want to go ahead and get 2 kills here. They get the channel on the right-hand side from the Sonya. Kaimo Tripson going to be going ahead and finishing out the left side. That leaves them at 4 core health. Boss just came back. If they can get another pick here and move on to Boss, this is GG for the members of gillyShark. They go ahead and they rotate over the Boss. They know that this is their win condition. Excuse me, I was completely off with my math. There's one more, actually.
There are 3 heroics on the side of gillyShark. Reepsville not even going to contest. Cal TM was so incredibly low. Balfurion, you don't have the support to help keep your team alive during that fight. And a single point left for Reepsville. Whenever the next shrine comes up, whenever the zappers are taken, this is such dangerous territory for them. They have to respond to everything that gillyShark does from here on out on this map.
This is really, really risky. 20s, though, have been achieved for both teams. It's an even game, talent tier-wise. The next objective is going to be a single altar in bottom. That can either be the end of the game for Reepsville Gazette or, you know, their continuation into this. We'll have to see, as we have the one of the camps being fed into bottom lane. Stark is going to be postured up for that, as well as we have Mr. Lard going to be getting the grab onto the Sonya in top, trying to get that bell tower converted, just so that they, if they do lose this phase, they at least don't take the full 4 damage to their core. Also, just allowing that extra ability to just kind of rotate around and have some freedom here. As Calcium trying to get some of those hooks out, maybe getting these late game kills. Death timers are extremely long as we get into this next altar phase that could be the end of the game. We'll have to see here.
Twilight Dream ended up being used, I think, for them to try to find Stark and take him down before this next shrine, and it didn't connect. And then the hook didn't connect. They are hungry to find out where Stark is, because they know just how much importance he plays in this final shrine phase. Both of them coming up now, and these teams fighting, seeing who can get the pick first. Malfurion is the first to go down, but Samuro follows as well. Fear comes out from Darkstorm. Stitches ends up being shoved very far away, and the members of Reepsville looking so incredibly low.
Currently going to have some of them getting poked down here. Kaimo Tripson going to be going for the channel. They don't want to allow this to happen. Jake the Snake going to get pushed by the massive shove. Nikki going to be going in, trying to get the kill onto Jinxie Cap, but won't be happening. They actually get the kill onto the Genji. That will be the Stitches falling here. We have the Cassia, will be the next one to fall. Jake the Snake has to back off. That will be Kaimo Tripson going ahead and getting the channel on this. The GG well played is called out, and that is going to be game number 3 going over to gillyShark. They will advance further in the bracket for the Nexus Gaming Series Division B playoffs. GG well played.
Wow, what a great